What's going on, guys, and welcome to my audio review for Friday Night SmackDown for December 17th, 2021. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying the holiday season so far. We're 7 days out from Christmas. I'm very excited. And speaking of which, I'm pretty sure next week's SmackDown will be pre-taped, if it hasn't been already. It might have been pre-taped last night. I didn't watch SmackDown Live this week. I'll get to that in a second. I'm pretty sure next week's episode, if it hasn't already been taped, it will be. And then obviously the show falls on Christmas Eve. The review would fall on Christmas Day itself. Christmas Day is Christmas Day. I don't think I'll probably do a audio review of SmackDown next week, and if I do, it'll probably go up on Sunday, not on Christmas itself. So just to keep an eye out for that. I probably either won't do one next week or just we'll either do it, delayed or whatever. I'm not exactly sure yet. I think, from what I had heard, there is not going to be a New Year's Eve episode, which makes sense. Who's going to be watching? I mean, they actually had Raw on Christmas Eve, or New Year's Eve a few years ago. They've done it before. It doesn't sound like they're going to do a SmackDown on New Year's Eve. They're just going to be doing like a best of or some sort of FS1 special or whatever. So I actually won't be reviewing SmackDown that week if there is none. They have day one, that January 1st, that Saturday in 2 weeks. So we probably won't even need to do a SmackDown audio review. But yeah, just to keep kind of a heads up for the next couple of weeks. Like I said, I did not watch this episode live. It ended up being a very good show, which I'll get to momentarily. I did not watch it live. I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home. No spoilers. It was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will not say anything more than that. But I fucking loved it, and I can't wait to see it again. I might actually be seeing it a second time tonight with someone else, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, be sure to go see it if you haven't already. We will definitely have a review of the movie up at some point here on the channel. Hopefully on the sooner side, myself, Phil, Chris. I know Phil has seen it. I don't think Chris has seen it as of right now. We may review it anyway. I'm not sure. Chris, I'm not sure when he's going to be seeing it, but hopefully sometime soon, because I look forward to that, talking about Spider-Man No Way Home with those guys. But let's get into SmackDown from Friday. Like I said, I really did think this was a good show. Watching it back, the way they opened the show and everything else, it really had a hot crowd and everything else. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the opening and closing segments on the show were really well done. Like I said, the crowd was hot all night long. The middle wasn't too bad. We had some throwaway segments, but nothing too awful, aside from the Corbin shit, which I'll get to. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode of SmackDown, more than I have recently. And I've started quite a bit of these reviews recently, talking about how SmackDown has been missing that edge. Not a whole lot going on right now beyond the Universal Championship picture. I've been digging the Roman and Lesnar feud for a while, obviously since it started in August. But the rest of SmackDown has really needed help for some time now. I've liked Naomi and Shayna, or Naomi and I guess Shayna too, but the Naomi Sonya Deville program, I've enjoyed that. New Day and Usos kind of feels like it's more of the same to me personally. The Cesaro, Sheamus, Holland stuff has been solid. The Corbin, Moss, McIntyre shit is fucking terrible. Storm and Flair has been a completely underwhelming feud, but thankfully I thought this episode of SmackDown anyway was a decent step in the right direction. So speaking of Storm and Flair, they actually opened the show in a tag team match. Toni Storm, Sasha Banks teaming up to take on the duo of the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Shotzi. Yeah, she's still employed, thankfully. We haven't seen Shotzi on WWE TV, I believe, since Survivor Series, which I would say surprising, but WWE in 2021, as far as who they feature, who they fire, who they push, it really shouldn't be surprising. But, they kind of gave her a prominent position on the show when she first came to SmackDown right after the draft. She turned heel on Sasha. They had that mini feud going into the pay-per-view. Sasha beat her clean at that SmackDown that I was at right before Survivor Series. And that was it. We haven't seen Shotzi since the pay-per-view, and that was a month ago. So, thankfully, she was back on the show. She did not take the losing fall for her team. That was Charlotte, as she should have. Charlotte has done absolutely nothing. The character, the person, whatever, wherever you want to draw the line, it doesn't matter. Charlotte Flair has done absolutely nothing to elevate Toni Storm in recent weeks. The feud has been a complete failure. Storm has come away from this feud looking like a loser. Thankfully, she emerged victorious in this match, and not only that, she pinned Charlotte. They were given a lot of time here, 2 or 3 commercial breaks, almost 20 minutes of in-ring action here, which is honestly more time for one match than most of these SmackDowns get in one night. I'm not even kidding. Go back and look at the time and stuff like that for the amount of wrestling we get on these shows we've gotten lately. This match was longer than the most amount, The most amount of minutes we get of action on any given episode of SmackDown lately, this was more than that, which was good. I think they got a lot of time. The crowd was into it. They popped huge for Toni Storm beating Charlotte, pinning Charlotte, therefore earning her a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship on next week's Christmas Eve edition of SmackDown. So I thought this was well done. I enjoyed the match, had the right outcome, and this was a great way to kick off the show. I enjoy the Tribal Chief as much as anyone else. I enjoy some of the other stuff going on the show right now. But you can't always kick off every fucking show with a promo, wash, rinse, repeat. Like, they switched things up here, gave us a match, no promos at all, and I thought it worked well. It was a very good way to start the show. We then had a quick throwaway match between the Viking Raiders and Jinder Mahal and Shanky. This was kind of a nothing match, but it was made better by the fact, first of all, there were no shenanigans, no bullshit, and the crowd was actually pretty hot for the Raiders. I was surprised. Coming off that opener, I thought this would be, and it was, the come-down match. It wasn't a meaningful match at all. It was completely pointless. But it did give the Raiders a much-needed victory, and they were into the Viking Raiders. Honestly, this was probably the loudest I have heard any crowd for the Viking Raiders, probably since they won the Raw Tag Team titles 2 years ago. I mean, they have just been ice cold lately. But this win got them back on the right track. I don't know if they're building them up for a tag team title opportunity. And I've talked about before how SmackDown's tag team division is so thin right now. Jinder Mahal and Shanky I completely forgot about. Even knowing they still exist on the roster, my opinion has not changed. That division is still super thin over on the SmackDown side of things. They have New Day, they have Usos, and then it kind of falls off a bridge from there as far as the amount of teams. Like Nakamura and Boogs, I guess technically count, but Nakamura is the Intercontinental Champion. They shouldn't be a regular team. They have Los Lotharios, they're great. Corbin and Moss, I guess. There might be one other team I'm not thinking of. So that's about 5 or 6 teams. A lot of those teams mean nothing, including Mahal and Shanky. So the Raiders beating them doesn't really mean much, but the match was exactly what it needed to be. The right team went over, and the crowd was hot for it, so that surprised me, and I enjoyed this for what it was. Then the show took a turn for the worst. I was really expecting, like, wow, this is off to a great start. Like, we had a very good opening match. They were hot for the Raiders. This might be a great show, and it ended up being a very good show. But it was taken down an entire notch with this stupid segment here between Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, and Drew McIntyre. You guys know every single week here on the SmackDown reviews, I have voiced my praise for the Happy Corbin character, his character development this year. I am still one of the remaining few defenders of this character. He's not my favorite character on the roster, but I don't find it as unbearable as others, as surprising as that may sound. The act, though, is fucking terrible. The character itself, I don't really mind. And even the pairing with Moss and Corbin, I've probably shit on it in the past. It's grown on me. The act itself, where they're laughing at their own jokes and the jokes are intentionally terrible, is indeed terrible. The act is terrible. McIntyre coming out with the sword takes this to an even goofier level than it already was. I love McIntyre. I actually just spoke with him. I tweeted the story on Twitter about how he left me a voicemail telling me to pick up my bloody phone because I missed our interview time, and he called me from a random number. I didn't miss it intentionally. He called me from a random number that I wasn't expecting. But it's a funny anecdote that's on my Twitter right now from a couple days ago. But anyway, McIntyre gains nothing from this. I know they're just doing this to keep him busy until they get to that next chapter in his story. Whether it be the Universal Championship or not. The feud has suffered from Jeff Hardy getting fired and being removed from the storyline. Not that it was exactly lighting the world on fire when Jeff Hardy was there, but at least that helped kind of even the odds and it made it more bearable. We've seen McIntyre and Corbin a million fucking times. I have zero desire to see that again. I know that's where this is going, I just don't care. McIntyre retrieving the sword, trying to stab Corbin with it, it's just so fucking goofy. And it's none of their faults. It's just the writing just sucks. Ridge Holland versus Cesaro, a rematch from Ridge Holland's in-ring debut on SmackDown a few weeks ago. This was fine while it lasted, way too short. I would have cut that entire McIntyre-Corbin-Moss match and just given these guys more time. But this was a well-wrestled match while it lasted. Cesaro beat Holland in Holland's in-ring debut a few weeks ago, so I thought this was a must-win for Holland, and he did indeed win. Now, Sheamus interfered from ringside. He distracted Holland. So allowing Holland to pick up the victory here. I like that alliance, and it's nice and it's interesting that they're now protecting Cesaro in defeat. They had him lose clean to Sheamus, I'm pretty sure, a couple of weeks ago, in like a matter of minutes. And it was a good match, but they had Cesaro lose as clean as a sheet, which surprised me a little bit, but not really, considering how, de-emphasized he's been in the last 6 months or so, I would say. That being said, though, Jeff Hardy's now gone. They kind of need someone to fill in that void of that upper echelon mid-card babyface, a spot he had previously occupied earlier this year. He hasn't been featured in such a spot in quite a while, so with Hardy gone, hopefully he kind of moves into that spot. He didn't have to win here. Like I said, I think Holland needed the win more, but it's interesting how they're now portraying him. So I'm glad this isn't over. Maybe this leads to McIntyre and Cesaro, because McIntyre had a match with Sheamus last week, beat him, and Cesaro was seen watching from the back. So that's really what I would rather see McIntyre involved in. If he needs something to spin his wheels with for right now, that is the feud I would rather see. I know we've seen Drew and Sheamus a million times, but Drew and Cesaro against Sheamus and Holland makes more sense to me than McIntyre going after Corbin and Moss and the fucking sword shit. That to me is just dumb. Naomi was in the ring in the next segment. No Xia Li on the show, which was weird. And Naomi wasn't exactly in peril, I guess, so she didn't exactly need her. But Naomi was in the ring. She had a Christmas list, and it was really just a piece of paper that said on it that she wants a one-on-one match with Sonya Deville. Sonya came out. She repeated the same lines that she's been saying for weeks now. When she's in the suit, she's in WWE official mode, you can't touch her. So instead of giving her what she wanted, she gave Naomi a match, just except against Shayna Baszler. Baszler jumped Naomi from behind. The match started immediately, and it was over within 30 seconds. We have seen this shit before. Shayna gains absolutely nothing. The crowd is into Naomi, which is great. The Naomi and Sonya feud has been well done so far. I'm ready for the next chapter. I don't know when we're getting that match. I thought we would get it at day one, but at this point, I don't know. They should say that Sonya's, honestly, a way to do it, in my opinion, would say, listen, Sonya's contract as a WWE official runs out at the end of the year. Day one is day one for 2022. Because remember, if you remember correctly, Sonya's contract, she actually debuted as an official in WWE, like she kind of first appeared back on SmackDown, on New Year's Day earlier this year. So it would make perfect sense if it said, listen, it was a 1-year deal, we're not renewing it, you're back in the ring. And she has to face Naomi at the pay-per-view. They could still set that up on SmackDown next week. I don't think they will. I feel like they would have advertised that match by now. They need more matches for that pay-per-view. I know that much. They have the WWE title match set, the Universal title match set, a SmackDown tag team title match set, and I believe a Raw tag team title match at some point. And probably Charlotte and Toni if they set that up. What's going on with the Raw Women's... they already set up Becky and Liv too, so... I guess they got 5 or 6 matches already, but I would still like to see this added to the pay-per-view. I don't think they'll do it at the Rumble. And I don't think they should. Naomi should probably be in the Rumble as maybe, Sonya should be as well. But we'll see where they go. The match itself was complete throwaway from Naomi and Shayna, but it was a decent way, I suppose, of furthering that feud between the two. And then for some reason, we got the New Day versus the Usos and non-title tag team action. No, it was already announced on Talking Smack 2 weeks ago that the New Day will challenge the Usos for the SmackDown tag team titles at day one. Then we got a triple threat tag team match last week on SmackDown with the New Day beating the Usos and RK Bro in a random triple threat tag team match to determine the greatest tag team in all of WWE. The New Day pinned the Usos, and I guess they gave them more momentum. They already had their title shot of the pay-per-view, whatever. I didn't like that, but it wasn't a straight-up tag team match, so whatever. This was a straight-up tag team match. Now, I know they had an interaction earlier on in the evening. They probably explained it there. I missed that. I saw it. I just wasn't, paying attention, so I don't know what was said there to justify setting up this match before they are already going to have a match at the pay-per-view in a week or so. I fucking hate when any company does this shit. AEW has done it from time to time, but WWE does it quite a bit. And they did it here. I wasn't a fan of it. The match was good. It was a quality match. They got an ample amount of time, not like 15 minutes, but it was a full-length 7 or 8 minute match. And the New Day won. They beat the champions. So like Toni pinning Charlotte in the tag team match, I was fine with. In a match like this, when it's literally the match that we're getting at the pay-per-view in 2 weeks, I was going to say next weekend, but it's in 2 weeks. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I wish they wouldn't do that. They did. They're probably just running out of ways to further this feud, a lot like with Naomi and Sonya, without repeating themselves. So that's why they did this here. I don't think the Usos are losing the championships. They already lost to the New Day twice on TV. I'll say that right now. I don't think they're losing to the New Day 3 times in a row. I don't know why they did this match. It was a good, well-wrestled match, but I just definitely would not have done that. It just makes me care even less about the match of the pay-per-view. And worse than that, people are already sick. They're already sick of the New Day versus the Usos. So to give them more of that week after week before we even get the pay-per-view match, to me, makes no sense. We got the best segment on the show, to no one's surprise, in the main event segment, with Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, the Usos, and Brock Lesnar. So it was a great, well-done segment here, with Roman once again questioning Paul after what we saw last week, because Roman wasn't on the show last week. This was the return of Roman Reigns on SmackDown. They probably just gave him the week off. But he questioned Paul again. He said, I thought I had all the answers. I thought we already did this, but we'll do it again because I'm starting to question myself again. Did you know about Brock being at SummerSlam? No answer from Paul. Did you know about Brock being at MSG? No answer from Paul. Did you know about Brock getting reinstated? No answer from Paul. My last question for you, Paul. Are you an advocate or are you a special counsel? No answer from Paul. So Paul simply says, all shaky, and it's not like he turned on Roman. He's like, oh yeah, I'm with Brock Lesnar, blah, blah, blah. It looked that way for a second based off the facial expression he gave, but he looked up to the sky and said, please be with me, or, God help me, or whatever. And then looked at Roman and said, I'm not trying to protect Brock from you. I'm trying to protect you from Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns did not like that very much. And this wasn't Paul turning on Roman. It was him telling Roman the truth, in his opinion. Roman then said, listen, Paul, I appreciate you for 40 years of service. I appreciate you for everything you've done for my family, but you're fired. And then he begins to walk off. Paul's all confused, hits him with a Superman punch to the face, and before they can hit a concerto on Paul, Brock's music hits. Brock Lesnar's music hits. The Chicago crowd goes crazy. And we've seen Brock come out before, and he kind of beats up the Usos, but Roman escapes. Not this time. He went after the entire Bloodline and laid out every single person in there. Both of the Usos and Roman with multiple F5s, including one of them, if not all of them, on a steel chair that was in the ring. That was brought in by the Bloodline when they went to go attack Paul. Paul was out for the entire segment in terms of like he was laid out. It's not like he and Brock shared a stare. It's not like they interacted at all. It wasn't like Brock came out to save Paul. He kind of did. I don't know if it was because he just wanted to attack Roman or because he was trying to save Paul because he cares about Paul Heyman. I don't know. But they did attack Paul, did Roman with the Superman punch. So could they be setting up a swerve with Paul ultimately realigning with Roman? I hope so. They would have to explain that he took a bullet for the team. I mean, they didn't overly beat the shit out of him. I mean, they just hit him with a Superman punch, and that was it. A very weak-looking Superman punch that barely looked like it connected. So, yeah, I would be surprised. They definitely could do the swerve. I'm not expecting it based on what we got here and what we've been getting up to this point. I don't know if they want to do that. But this was still a great segment. And I wouldn't split Heyman away from the Bloodline just yet. I think it's still, I say too soon, but it's been well over a year now that Heyman and Roman have been attached to each other. I still wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put Heyman back with Brock at this point. I think Heyman's better off with Roman. And if you put Heyman with Roman, or back with Brock rather, does he help Brock beat Roman to win the championship at the pay-per-view? That's the question. I hope not. Brock winning the belt seems likely. I definitely wouldn't do it at day one. I'll tell you that much. I don't want to see Brock win the belt and then they set up a rubber match at WrestleMania that we know Roman would win because they're not going to keep the belt on Brock for any length of time as a part-time champion at this point. I know they have before. I don't see them doing that at this point, nor should they. So, anyway, this was awesome, though. I don't know where they're going with it, and that's why I'm intrigued. That's why I'm compelled, and I'm invested. This is awesome stuff. By far and away, the best thing on SmackDown right now is anything involving Heyman, Brock, and Roman, and the Bloodline on the whole. So, this was awesome stuff. Closed out the show on a great note. The Chicago crowd ate all of this up. They treated Brock Lesnar like the biggest babyface in the world during that segment, and they were really hot during the entire show, and this was a great example of a crowd making a show. They were lively. They were into it. This was great stuff. So thoroughly enjoyed SmackDown this week. Not a great show, but the crowd was lively all night long. I liked the opening tag team match. Love the closing segment. Some of the stuff in the middle was fine, but not great. I mean, definitely nothing home run worthy, but it was decent enough to make it a solid show, in my opinion. A definite improvement over recent weeks, I will say that much. And those are my thoughts. Those are my 2 cents on the December 17th, 2021 edition of SmackDown. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Like I said earlier, don't know if we're doing a Christmas Eve review for SmackDown next week, falling on Christmas Day, just because it's Christmas. Don't think I'll have the time to do it. Maybe on Sunday. If not, probably just won't do it at all. I probably won't have time. So I'll probably just wait until the new year to bring back the SmackDown reviews. But until then, guys, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. Be sure to catch Spider-Man No Way Home at some point. I'm actually on my way probably to go see it for a second time tonight or tomorrow or sometime very, very soon. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.